Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome to my launch of the November Craft Challenge. Today I'm using the Critter Sweater set by Simon Says Stamp, and I've got a piece of Crumb Cake cardstock by Stampin' Up. Now I already have all of these stamps lined up from the last time I did this card. I didn't want to reline them up all again, but I just put them on my cardstock all at once, and then I adhered them all at once to the lid of my MISTI. So notice I'm using the upper right hand corner of my MISTI, and I'm putting the stamps at the bottom. So now I'm going to ink that up with some Versamark ink, and then I'll sprinkle it with some white embossing powder and heat it to set it. So now I want to continue on this pattern. So what I'm going to do is put it back in the MISTI, and now I've got space to move it down and stamp it again above what I already stamped. So I'm just going to eyeball this and kind of go up and down until I can see that it's going to stamp exactly where I need it to above my previous pattern. So once I get that all lined up, I'll hold it in place with some magnets, and then I'm going to put some Versamark ink on my stamp again, and then I will stamp it down. My cardstock is in the middle of the MISTI, so just in case I have to stamp this again, I'm going to take my creative corner and I'm going to place it very carefully in the upper left hand corner. And it's magnetic, so it's going to stick to my MISTI. I'll take my cardstock out, but if I have to stamp that again, I can just put it right back into that corner. And as it turns out, I did not need to stamp that again. All right, I'm going to work on this coffee cup. I'm pulling my stamp from the Paper Smooches Hot Concoction set. I'm going to stamp it in Memento ink on Neenah Solar White cardstock. And I also have a heart that comes with this set. I'm going to stamp that as well. Now I'm going to color my coffee cup with some Copic markers. I just have two colors. It's a pretty small stamp. Now I'm going to flick upward from either side with my dark color G07. Now I slow this down so you can see how I did the second color. So notice that I'm starting either at the bottom or halfway up, somewhere in that range, and flicking upward. And I want to, when I turn this around, meet the section that I did from the other side, but I do want to leave a little bit of the area, just like some white streaks where I don't color it. And this is going to provide what looks like a light reflection on my coffee cup. So I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom here, flicking upward. Notice I don't really care because I'm about going outside the lines because I'm going to be cutting this out. So after I was finished with this, I really liked the way the bottom turned out, but I felt like there was a little bit too much white at that top, in the top area. So I just took my G14, that lighter color again. I just went over some of that white area to cover it up a little bit and make it more green, and then I was happy with it. I did the same process with the middle part using E43 for my dark color. Again, flicking upward from both sides, and then with the E40, which is a really, really light color, just coming up and meeting in the middle, again, leaving some of that area white. The lid of my cup is white, but I wanted to give it a little bit of dimension, so I took the lightest color, the E40, and I'm just going to flick around the edge and color the top just a little bit more since it's further in, just to have some dimension there. I'm going to just color my heart in solid with the R27, and then I'm going to cut both of these pieces out. My sentiment is from the same set. I'm going to stamp this on Shaded Spruce cardstock by Stampin' Up. Notice that I kind of positioned all my elements so I knew where to stamp this. So I'm stamping it in Versamark ink and white embossing it, and then I trimmed it out. I cut my crumb cake panel to 3 3/8 by 4 3/4 approximately. But since it wasn't exact, I decided to just eyeball the mat that I'm going to provide. So I put it in the corner and I mark about where I want to trim it, and then I ran that through the trimmer. And then I'm going to adhere my crumb cake with some ATG onto the Shaded Spruce. And then I'll put ATG again on my sentiment and place it a little bit lower than center. And then I'll adhere this to my card base, which is a top folding Neenah Solar White. And then for the coffee cup, I'm going to add a couple of dimensionals by Stampin' Up, just some foam adhesive. And then for the heart, I'm going to put a couple of drops of two-way glue and adhere that to the center of my cup. Now my last detail is going to be some glossy accents on my heart, just a little fun detail to put on there so it's nice and shiny. And that is my card for today. So I really like the way green looks with the crumb cake, and I actually really like the way red looks, and I think we're going to make some really fun holiday cards with this challenge. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.